Good day and welcome to Corporate Doc Podcast. I'm Dr. Naomi Chitambira. I'm your host. Today we begin a critical conversation on some of the hot topics of the 21st century, psychological safety and its impact on innovation and productivity in work teams. Let me start by sharing some few insights. In my years of service, I've been privileged to work with executive teams, middle managers, first-line managers, and work teams. And what I've noted is that across all sectors, one pattern is consistent. Performance challenges or performance issues are rarely about strategy. Usually, organizations have got the strategy well laid out. They are about people not feeling safe to speak. Mark that. That's very important. The performance issues are about people not feeling safe to speak. Now I know some of you are beginning to be like, Naomi, how much should people speak in the workplace? Stay with me. In today's episode, I'll take you through top 4 reasons why psychological safety matters more now than ever. It's almost like you cannot talk about innovation. You cannot talk about organizational effectiveness. You cannot talk about productivity without psychological safety. Let's explore pillar number 1. Let's talk about reason number 1. The shift from compliance to value creation. I think from that you can get the cue. Compliance versus value creation. As a leader, you want the most out of your people. Compliance comes with lack of creativity, but value creation comes with an independent mind. Historically, just to share a little bit, and when I say historically, please don't be surprised because some of you, what I'm referring to as historically can be your present. All right. Historically, leadership was shaped by the following: planning, organizing, and controlling. And employees valued hierarchy, age, and position, and tenure. People loved to keep their work. People loved to wait for their pension in one job. This reminds me, as we just begin to talk about compliance versus value creation, let me share an experience I had with a management team. This was during a development session. A senior executive once told me, people here are very respectful, Naomi. They don't challenge leadership. So if you see the engagement is on the lower side, don't be surprised. They are shy to talk. On the surface, that sounded positive, said confidently. But you know what? Immediately, I knew there was a huge problem within that organization. When I continue with our work, when we got to interview middle managers and first-line managers, we discovered these 4 things that were not a surprise to me, but was a surprise to leaders of that organization. Operational risks were known at middle management level and first-line management level, but not addressed. Inefficiencies were tolerated. I don't know how they had gotten to get everyone within the system to tolerate inefficiencies. Innovation was literally not there. People were doing what worked yesterday, and that would not demand so much energy from them. And finally, people were disengaged. So you can begin to see the danger of this. If you're a leader and you value compliance over value creation, where you love people who respect you, people who are silent, who listens to your ideas and they do not challenge, you need to listen to the next thing I'm going to be talking about. Today, organizations are competing in environments that demand agility, innovation, regional and global competitiveness. That means we are no longer having organizations working only in our countries, whilst you think you are prosperous in your own country or in your own region, you realize someone across the globe has just come up with a product that can take you out of business. So we cannot afford to have teams or our leaders relying on compliance. We want the shift from compliance to value creation amongst our employees and across the organization. Psychological safety is what turns employees from task doers into value creators. It almost feels like you are tapping into that. You're tapping into that resource. The most important resource of your organization are your people. And when there is no psychological safety, it means you are busy bleeding the very same resource that should take you to places or that is instrumental to the success of the organization. So without psychological safety, people execute, but they do not apply themselves. So you end up with a situation where people are just doing what they need to do to survive. All right, so let's move to reason number 2, complexity and interdependence. Today's global business environment is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And operating in this, I think we have all come to the point to agree that nothing is permanent in this. No business idea is permanent in this environment. It's also comprised of something very challenging: multicultural and multi-generational workforce. This alone means no leader, no matter how experienced, can see everything. In such an environment, success depends on shared intelligence, people speaking up across levels, disciplines, and backgrounds. So in an environment that's complex and where there is so much interdependence within our global environment, a global community, your number one resource to navigate is your people. And your people must be empowered to speak if that is going to be a competitive advantage. I recall a management session where a significant operational failure had just occurred, and I was invited to facilitate some team discussions to explore the situation. The senior leadership struggled to understand why they didn't see this coming, and it's typical in power distance cultures. When we spoke to frontline leaders, these top 3 issues emerged. The operational issues had been visible for months to lower level management. People assumed the leadership already knew. Some people said leadership knew about it but did not engage us, so we thought they are coming up with a solution. Others feared being labeled negative or disloyal. This is common in high power distance cultures, and it's not what you want to see in an environment that's now a global environment, where silence is often mistaken for respect. Failure begins to shape. Where silence, please mark this, where silence is often mistaken for respect, failure begins to settle confidently. So, psychological safety. This is my favorite part about psychological safety in leadership. As you are listening to this, if you are leading a team, please listen carefully. Psychological safety reframes speaking up as responsibility, not as rebellion. Most people, most junior employees, high potential employees, even graduate trainees are so afraid to speak up in organizations because they fear it can be career limiting. Without psychological safety, here are the things you risk as a leader. Information gets withheld. And in today's global economy, information is gold. Information is your oxygen as an organization. I can actually say information is actually it's your gateway to success. You need oxygen to survive as a human being. So think about that. information is now your oxygen as a leader to bring success. All right. And mistakes go unreported. Where psychological safety lacks, mistakes go unreported. Early warning signs are missed because people fear for their careers, and leaders make decisions with partial truth. That's the part I'm really afraid of. Partial truth and lies. So I don't know which one is dangerous between the two. Maybe lies, a leader can quickly, you can quickly dictate this is a lie. But a partial truth can give you some comfort that you do not need. And before you know it, it can become catastrophic. Psychological safety is no longer a nice to have. It's a competitive advantage and risk management strategy. Let's talk about reason number 3, the shift from leadership authority to influence. I love this because leadership comes with authority. The moment you assume a role and the moment you accept a role, it comes with assigned authority. But as a leader in this VUCA environment, you cannot rely on assigned authority. You need something more, and that is influence. Historically, leadership power came from position, control, and command. But modern leadership requires a different capability. Effectiveness in leadership in this age comes from trust, engagement, and influence, rather than authority. In our organizations today, some leaders were promoted because of technical expertise, tenure, loyalty. These are not a guarantee for success. Psychological safety is your gateway to success. If you are just assuming a new role, your focus may be to build psychological safety. Help the team talk. Help the team, make the team help you navigate your new environment. This reminds me of our new manager assimilation program, where we help managers and teams build psychological safety as early as they can so that they can enhance productivity. I once coached a senior leader who said, "My team doesn't tell me the truth anymore, Naomi, and I'm worried." After a few discovery sessions, the reason was clear. When challenged, this leader became defensive. When questioned, he shut conversations down. The leader unintentionally trained his team to stay silent. In that, as I showed him the data from his team, he realized that he had unintentionally trained his team to be silent. Probably you could be one of them. It's not that we as leaders wake up every morning to say, I'm going into that team and I don't want anyone speak, and I want to be the only voice that will make a difference, and I'm the only intelligent person in that team. None of us does that. We are all working for a common good, but there are certain things that we do as leaders that can silence people unintentionally. So psychological safety is the foundation for mutual engagement. I love the word mutual engagement because I don't consider it communication when it comes one way. I don't consider engagement when you tell people what to do and they do it without asking questions. And also, psychological safety is the foundation for honest upward feedback. Let me just pause and tell you my experience with honest upward feedback. This is one of the things our middle managers and first line managers in Africa are struggling with. And this is connected to our cultures. Remember, Africa, most of our cultures are high power distance. The more senior someone is, the more you cannot challenge them. And what I've noted in organizations, now we are operating in a global environment. And when we lack honest upward feedback, we are losing something very important. Remember, I always show my clients the work hierarchy, the organizational hierarchy. Your CEO has got maybe only top 5 executives or 7 reporting to him. and your departmental head has got maybe 10 managers, your middle managers may be having 15 or 20 supervisors, and your supervisors are managing a lot of people. So imagine a situation where honest feedback is only coming top downwards, and it's never coming downward from down upwards. Then you know you're missing something very important in your operations and in your sustainability as an organization. Honest, if you want to talk sustainability in a VUCA environment or in the global context where success is hinged on drawing from your teams the innovative ideas, creativity, and new information, you definitely need upward feedback, honest upward feedback, and not only honest upward feedback, honest upward conversations. Are people talking? They may not be giving you feedback, but do they have the psychological safety to come to you and say, hey, Naomi, you know, I was thinking about the problem we are experiencing in our team, and I've got top 3 solutions that I would want us to consider. Do your people have that leverage? Can they approach you as a leader? I'm very passionate about this, that I can go on and on, because I want to tell you guys, I've coached first line managers, middle managers, and some of them, they are enduring hell from their executive leaders, you know. And when we coach them, I say to them, you know, sometimes I'm going to coach them to know how to carry a conversation with their seniors, but that's their biggest challenge, is that talking to their seniors is an elephant in the room, because the culture doesn't provide psychological safety to do so. One middle manager said to me, Naomi, I really love my job, I love my company, but I'm thinking of just looking for another opportunity because I cannot see myself engaging my team leader. That's a big red flag. Thirdly, psychological safety is the foundation for integrity and accountability. As you have seen, when we do lack integrity and accountability, it means also people are afraid that when they talk, they get punished. People are afraid that when they say the truth, it can be career limiting. Therefore, guys, psychological safety, this is one of my favorite parts again. Psychological safety shifts in leadership tone. As you see, I'm talking, it's always leadership, leadership, leadership. If you're asking yourself, why am I saying leadership, 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 is for one reason. You are responsible for everything that you see within your team. Right? So psychological safety shifts leadership tone from I must always be right to I must always be informed. And such a leader that says I must always be informed loves people who challenge them and loves to challenge the status quo. They appreciate people who speak up. They appreciate people who come forward with their mistakes, and they stimulate learning, right? So people no longer follow because they must. They follow because they trust. In this, where do you stand as a leader? Do people follow you because they trust, or they follow because they must? Maybe that's a question to ponder on, a reflective question to ponder on. Let's go to reason number 4 and the final one. Remember, I said just top 4. People want value. In the past, people valued tenure, but not today. Today, we've got about 4 generations in the workplace. You've got your baby boomers, you've got your Gen X, you've got your millennials, you've got your Gen X, you've got your Gen Z. The dynamics are different. And as a leader, you must draw value out of all those. Besides multi-generational, you've got multicultural. And so today people want to feel, they want to stay in organizations or in work teams where they feel respected, valued, and heard. The multi-generational workforce calls for active engagement, not only multi-generational and multicultural. It requires active engagement to address gaps caused by different communication preferences, different expectations, and different leadership approaches. One time I was talking to a graduate trainee, and this was a high potential graduate trainee in a global organization. And this guy said to me, I love my company. I love that I'm in a global organization, but I'm tired of shrinking to survive, Naomi. And I'm like, wow, what do you mean that you are shrinking to survive? He says, I cannot share ideas, I cannot share insights, because from what I know and what my colleagues have told me, it's in this department, it's career limiting. Now, here's the truth leaders must confront. Perhaps you are one of those who mistaken silence for respect. People quit environments when they feel silenced, invisible, or unsafe. Unfortunately, in this case, my guys lost the high potential graduate trainee simply because they felt unheard, they felt unseen, and they felt that each time they had to shrink to survive. That's a word to take home as a leader. Do people on your team have to shrink to survive in your team? All right. So guys, this brings me to the last part. I'm a coach, and I always believe change begins with awareness. So I'll leave you with top 2 reflective questions that you need to ponder on as you begin your journey to build psychological safety within your teams. Ask yourself, who tells me uncomfortable truth? Uncomfortable truth. And how do I respond? Who in my team tells me uncomfortable truth? And how do I respond? And also, who stays silent in my presence and why? These 2 questions are so powerful. I would love you to go and practice them. Just continue reflecting on them. Firstly, remember, who tells me the uncomfortable truth in my team? If none of your team members tells you uncomfortable truth, something is dearly wrong. And also checking how you respond, because sometimes how we respond when we told the uncomfortable truth, I don't know about you, but I don't like the uncomfortable truth. And I always safeguard myself with my team. And I say, when uncomfortable truth comes, please don't mind my body language at first. I'll come around. Probably you're one of such leaders, put that forward so that your team knows it's not career limiting. It's just everyone isn't comfortable with uncomfortable truth. But when we get to talk about these things with our teams, we're already creating psychological safety. It means your team can challenge you and they're not going to pay attention to your body language because they know they've got the leeway to tell the truth, and that in that environment, your goals are the boss. So also checking how you respond is very critical. Over the years, I've had to grow in how I respond to some uncomfortable truths solely for one reason. I realized that when you learn to chew the uncomfortable truth, that's one of your biggest breakthrough in moving your goals forward or achieving your goals. Secondly, the one we spoke about, who stays silent in my presence as a leader and why? Do you know most leaders, we end up putting labels on people. Sometimes we say, oh, that one, Trebile doesn't talk. Oh, Selindile doesn't talk. She's always quiet. Begin to ponder on this. Why do they stay silent in your presence or in my presence, and why? Begin to have a keen interest in getting them to talk. Remember, information is gold. Maybe to say is gold is even underestimating it or underrating information in this age. We even call it the age of information. And where do you get information as a leader regarding your work? You get it from your people. So your number one priority is to build psychological safety. So guys, leadership today is about creating conditions where people think, speak, and contribute fully. Let me just expand this. This is not only for profit-making businesses, organizations. This works for all organizations. When I say organizations, I mean churches, I mean businesses, I mean NPOs, I mean families. If you want to raise citizens of the world that are clued up, even in families, we must give them psychological safety to speak. So join me in the next episode where we will explore 4 pillars of psychological safety. Until now and then, be blessed.